Alright guys, so Season 2 just went live for Cold War recently, and along with a new Warzone map and Battle Pass and guns and all that other typical stuff, a new mode for zombies came out, and this was the most interesting thing for me. This is really the only thing that I really cared about, and I think a lot of people were interested in this, and they've been talking about this, since before the game launched, so this has been hyped up for a while, I guess you could say. And so today I kind of just wanted to go over my thoughts on it. So before we get started, I just want to say I apologize for the frame rate of the video. Alright, that's not me or my recording, that's just how the game runs in its current state. So for hurt your eyes to look at, you can just listen. Alright, now, so I'm going to try my best to explain this mode. And to those of you who have played it, it's going to make sense. To those of you who can't get in yet, it's not going to make any sense, because the way this is advertised and the way it actually works is very different. So essentially, you start out in this area, one of these three areas. It's random each time, and so you can get one of 4 possible objectives. Now, 3 of these are optional. One of them is really the only mandatory one, and we'll get into that more later. But let's start out with those optional ones. Now, these are called world activities or events or something like that. And again, I don't know the official name for them, so I'm going to be calling them my made-up names. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, again, if you haven't played it, you'll figure it out. So there's the dragon symbol looking thing, and essentially what you do here is you activate it. It costs like $500 or something, right? And it's straight out of Black Ops 2 Alcatraz. You stand in the circle and you kill the enemies. Once you've killed enough enemies in the circle, the dragon takes off and you get a chest, right? Simple enough. Defend the area and get rewards, right? One of the next side objectives is a skull and crossbones on the map, right? You go to that, it spawns enemies, you kill them, you get a chest. The next side objective is it's like a lightning symbol on the map, and it's a box that you go to, and it spawns some enemies, and once you beat them, you get a chest. If you're not realizing a pattern here, then let me point it out now. You go to an area, fight zombies, and you get a chest, right? That's all you do over and over in this game mode, right? And so now let's look at the primary marker, your main objective. So once you go into an area, you automatically have this primary objective, right? It's like activating the power on Firebase Z or any map, really. It is something that it tells you what to do. It's not like you have to figure out how to do it, any Easter egg steps, stuff like that. And so this objective can be one of a couple things, and it's randomly generated as to what you get across the 3 maps, but essentially it boils down to defend this zone and get a chest. Defend this moving zone, and his twist here, you don't get a chest. Or the only really interesting ones or dynamic ones that's different from anything else that you do in this game mode is it teleports you to an area, one of them being the beginning area of transit from Black Ops 2, so that's interesting. And defend the area against zombies, and then one of the other things it does is have you go get these battery cells or something for a rocket, and you can't sprint while you're carrying them, and so that one's interesting in the fact that it's different from the other things that the map has you do. But essentially it's defending an area and getting a chest afterwards. And so once you've kind of completed everything on the map in the area that you spawn into, you go through a portal, and at this portal, they have Pack-a-Punch, all of your perks, armor, everything you're going to need before you go into the next area. And this is the equivalent of going to the next wave, right? You can stay in an area however long you want, kill all the zombies you want, and it's not going to start the next wave. But the problem here is it's not like skipping wave 1 to wave 2. It's essentially the equivalent of skipping 10 waves, right? Into stage 2 and stage 3 and stage 4. And so essentially you're going into these, again, one of 3 maps, and you're doing these objectives. Now this might sound fun at first because you have all of the bosses from the first map that I'm drawing a blank on. You have the Firebase Z bosses, you have this new Iron Man type jetpack boss thing, and you're constantly fighting, but that's not the case, right? My main problem with this game mode right, is if you're not at an objective, doing the dragon thing or doing this chest thing here, escorting something, if you're not at one of those objectives, there's no zombies. The zombies are just, roaming around the map, spread out, and it's not like they're constantly after you in like regular zombies where there's just hordes and hordes of them. And so the problem with this is that it becomes very boring very fast, right? Essentially, within wave or zone, I guess, or difficulty, whatever you want to call them, by your third teleportation to this third area, as you see here in the top right corner, we're on area 4, so we've teleported 3 times. That's how that works, increasing the difficulty each time. And so by the third area, again, if you're doing all of the optional and side things, essentially you've done the same thing at this point 15 plus times, right? Now you might be wondering, what's the big deal, right? You've played zombies, and zombies is essentially, just wave defense over and over and over again. That doesn't get boring this quickly, at least. How is this different? Well, the problem here is that there's no just constant threat of zombies, right? You go to your location, you fight for a minute to 2 minutes, depending on the activity and what you have to do and all of that stuff. And then that's it. You go run over to the objective, spend the money you got from doing that 1 or 2 things, especially if you don't do any of the side activities, and go to the next area and do it again. And the problem with this is that you can't just speed through those primary objectives, right? Say you want to see how high of a difficulty, rating you can get through, right? Because it's not really waves in the traditional sense here. And so you just want to fly through it, right? Run those main objectives, go to the next area, main objective, next area, main objective, next area, just fly through it. The highest I got was 6 because we just got bored and X-filled. But the problem here is that the difficulty jumps between areas is so high that without pack-a-punching and upgrading the tier of your weapon and armor and all of that stuff, you're really not going to stand a chance. And you might be wondering, well, what does that have to do with these side activities and all this other stuff? Well, the problem with that is that these side activities are very boring, right? They're not fun. You have to do them over and over again, and essentially they're just more boring versions of the main objective, the primary activity, right? And if you don't do these side activities, since there's no constant horde of zombies chasing you, that means there's no constant mode of money, right? And so you don't have the money to pack a punch or upgrade or get armor, you don't have parts to buy self-revive, any of that stuff, right? So the game essentially forces you into doing these side objectives to have money to be able to survive to do the main objectives. And the side objectives and the main objectives, again, are practically the same thing, just over and over and over and over again. Now, I mean, if that sounds fun to you, cool, you do you, but to me, that's extremely boring. And the worst part about this, right, I talked about Firebase Z a tiny bit whenever I did my review of it, but you can't look down sights, like it just freezes your game, and this is on next gen, so I can't imagine what it looks like on a low-end PC or last gen consoles. But problem again with frame rate, the new map, there is a new map that they use here. 2 of them are from Dirty Bomb, and there is one new map. It's smaller than the 2 Dirty Bomb maps, so thankfully the frame rate there, at least on next gen, is stable, thank God. And so again, there's nothing really great about this, and the problem with it is when you do exfil, right? Again, if your game doesn't crash, because it does have that problem. If your game doesn't crash and you get to the point where you're bored, or, like we did around difficulty 5 or 6, and you just want to extract, right? Let me show you what extracting looks like and why I think it shows the problem of this game mode. So here we've chosen to extract. After you complete the main objective, you can either choose to go to the next difficulty setting, the next map, or like, you see here, we choose to extract. Now, here's my problem, right? This is so much cooler than everything else, right? Well, look how many zombies and bosses and just stuff there is everywhere. Now, for running the game and not blowing up my Xbox reasons, I understand why the whole thing can't be like this, because everyone's terrible as is, but this is so much cooler than fighting 20 zombies and then walking to the next objective and then fighting 20 more zombies and then doing it over again. If the entire game mode was this hectic and you just had zombies chasing you the whole time, and you were trying to kill these zombies in a certain area and get enough, kills to open this chest and guide this rover that takes like 0.000 damage per zombie hit, and it's impossible to lose. If you had all of these things chasing you while you were trying to do that, it would be insanely more difficult and insanely more interesting, right? Because even here, and again, we weren't super geared. I mean, we had halfway decent stuff, but again, we were just bored, so we were just getting out. But even this was simple and easy. You could ramp it up from here. Just have, we're on next gen. There's PCs out there that can run this. Just have hundreds, if not thousands, of zombies just littered across the map, chasing you at all times. That would make it extremely more difficult. It would make it a lot more fun, right? I think the problem with this game mode, right, is it tries to please a certain group of people, and that group of people is the minority. And so what do I mean by that, right? So if you want to split, zombies fans up into groups, there's people that just want to, like me, sit in a building, Black Ops 2 town, and shoot at a doorway for 3 hours with music on. Alright, that's zombies, that's what I want to do. I'm fine with, current zombies, that's what we want to call it, where there's an Easter egg and all that. That stuff's fine, but I prefer just sitting in a building shooting at a door, right? There's that group. Then there's the group that want, Black Ops 2 Origins. They want a 4.5-hour Easter egg, and they have to write a book to figure out how to do it, alright? There's that group, there's that type of people, right? That's not who this is for either. This is for the third group of people who want something new out of zombies, right? They don't want the wave survival that's old. They don't want the newer system of Easter eggs and a story. They want something new and different. So that's what this is. And the problem with trying to do something different, at least here, right, is typically you don't move on until you've utterly failed or you've mastered what you're doing, right? In my opinion, that's what they did with the change from just survival to Easter egg type stuff. They had mastered the camp in a room and, upgrade your gear and shoot at a doorway. That was mastered by Black Ops 2. So they decided to change it up, move to the Easter egg thing. I wouldn't say they're done with that, right? They're still critiquing things here and there, adding, should it be 9 hours long? Should it be 45 minutes long? How many hints should you get? Should it be this difficult or this easy? And balancing all of that. And they're still finding their sweet spot with that. And I think they're getting close, but they haven't exactly mastered that version of zombies. And so here, by trying to move on to this version of zombies, they kind of just throw everything in there, right? They don't know what they're doing. And it's obvious by the fact that, one, you just do the same thing over and over again. They come up with one really, didn't even come up with that one thing. Really, it's just wave defense on a smaller scale in a single area, and they put it on a big map, right? And so if you can't tell, and I really don't need to say much more, I'm not a big fan of this game mode. I've played it 4 or 5 times now at this point, spending, 2 hours, an hour on each one of those playthroughs, and I'll probably never play it again, right? Unless there's some drastic change to it or something. But I think the missed opportunity here is to just put a fuck ton of zombies on a big map. And I see why they can't do it, right? Like, that would be cool, that's what I want. Obviously, they're not anywhere close to being able to run that, apparently, because, again, this game doesn't run as is. But I think that's what people were expecting, and kind of off the trailers, that's the vibe they gave off, was that it was just going to be a bunch of zombies chasing you, and that's just not what this is, right? And so that's kind of why I'm disappointed in this. But that's my opinion. You guys let me know what you think of Outbreak, if you can even play it, down in the comments below, and I'll see you guys on the next one.